to her story. Let's go.
To the ghost of my mother. The headstone was cold against my back as I skimmed over my biology notes. Hey Mom, I'm still struggling to make friends like you asked me to, but my grades are still good, so I ran my finger along the edge of the page and it cut clean across my face. I watched the blood bead up. Sorry, I said. I shouldn't be so negative. I packed the notebook into my bag. I'm going to figure out what the doctors missed with you, Mom. I swear. I pressed my palm on the stone and closed my eyes. I found this scholarship for students studying medical research. I wrote my thesis. I just need an endorsement signature. A voice from behind said, "You're still talking to that headstone." Aunt Renata stood at the edge of the path, coffee cup in hand. "Are you still getting straight A's? I'm sure your mother would hate to be disappointed in you from beyond the grave." I stood up, meeting her eyes. "I'm number 1 in the whole school, actually. I'm looking into doctorate programs." She scrunched her nose and dismissed me with a wave. Then, a coughing fit took hold of her. I reached forward, offering my support, but she only backed away. My eyebrows drew together with concern. "Do you have the same illness my mother did?" Aunt Renata composed herself, straightening her back. "It is hereditary, child. You may have it as well one day." I took an eager step forward. "I'll find the cure. I'll save us both." Renata cut me off. "Don't be naive, child. You're still your mother's worst decision. What could you ever really accomplish?" She turned toward her car. "Come, I'll take you to school." She talked the entire drive as I gazed out the window. "Vice Principal Harlan mentioned you wore unprofessional attire." I blew the hair out of my face. "During soccer practice, I wore shorts. Sound the alarm." She pulled into her assigned parking spot in the school lot. "I won't let you disparage the vice principal's name. He is a good man and cares deeply about the school." I mumbled, "You mean cares about the school's finances?" A fist knocked on my window, startling me. I looked to my right and saw the devil himself. Vice Principal Harlan leered down at me. My finger instinctively locked the door, and my aunt glared at me. Then she looked up sweetly at the man and lowered my window. "Vice Principal Harlan, how nice to see you." He smiled at my aunt. "A bit late today, ladies, aren't we? Bad day for it, too. We have a new challenger for top spot arriving soon. You may not get that scholarship you wanted after all, Sammy." He shifted his gaze to me. My eyes widened in shock. "We never got new kids." Continued. "It's great news. With the advantages that come with transfer students now, any student like you who needs financial support won't serve a purpose in our school anymore." He held my eyes before I grabbed the door and opened it, forcing him to step back. "Best I get off to class then." I hopped out before anyone could speak and ran to the school's doors. I walked into the school and saw security harassing the failure of the week. The students with the worst test scores always had their lockers searched and contents dumped for everyone to see. I looked down to avoid eye contact and saw my own reflection staring back at me from how polished the floors were. The private school was always spotless. The lockers were locked because they were easier to search. Everything else in the school had been updated constantly to remind you what it cost to go here, including the library, I noted as I walked by its glass doors. The library's incredible computers and vast book collection was a big reason I'd fought to attend here. I was putting my books into my locker and thought about what it really meant to attend this school. Always be useful, be invisible, and don't cost anyone anything. My friend Mara grabbed my arm. "There you are. You have to come see this." I quickly shut my locker door as she pulled me toward the front entrance, buzzing with an energy that set off every red flag I owned. Mara dragged me outside where a crowd of students and adults stood around a car with diplomatic plates. 3 men in suits were mid-argument with school staff, who seemed to be keeping them from entering. Harlan waved when he saw us, and I had to hold back the shiver going down my spine. Mara stepped to her right, blocking Harlan's view of me. I turned away to see a young girl off to the side of the car. She wore a hijab and a backpack too large for her frame. I wondered, was this little girl the one Harlan had warned me about? She watched the arguing men and took slow steps back like she was looking for an exit. One of the suits noticed, grabbed her shoulder, and pushed her toward the doors, toward me. We made eye contact as she stumbled over the curb and nearly face-planted. I caught her arm. "Whoops, you okay?" I started to smile, but my face fell as she leveled me with the nastiest glare I'd ever received. She lifted her chin and walked into the school. Harlan looked from her to me as a grin grew on his face, like an evil idea was forming. Mara saw everything and called out to the girl, "Is it bring your child to work day? Someone, find her a lollipop before she cries." Students around us laughed. The new girl turned around on the verge of tears and disappeared down the hall. 20 minutes later, the senior class was ordered to the auditorium. Principal Grove launched into his speech about excellence and institutional achievement. I was already tuned out when he said, "Today, we're announcing an exceptional new student to our halls and country." I leaned forward as he continued, "A certified prodigy, genius-level IQ, nationally recognized." He never once looked at the girl sitting in the front row directly below him. She wasn't human to him. After the assembly, Vice Principal Harlan waved me over. "Sammy, I have a favor to ask of you. He turned to the young girl, who stood pinned under his arm. I started my excuse to escape. I'm actually really busy, when Harlan cut me off. That's disappointing. I'd hate to start seeing you as someone uncooperative. Then any future you might have hoped for will be in detriment. I forced a smile. How can I help, Vice Principal? Harlan winked and told the new girl. Sammy here is our current strongest investment. She'll be showing you around the school, teach you what you need to know. The girl looked me over slowly, then said, there is nothing you can teach me. You will struggle if you try to compete with me. What was this girl's problem? Harlan only laughed and looked at us like entertainment. Prodding further, he mentioned, I forgot to mention, this year we will only be supporting one scholarship student in their future endeavors. The one with the highest test scores will be chosen. Harlan was pitting us as enemies. I swallowed my pride, turning to the young girl. I'd love to show you around. Let's go. Then I turned and started walking. Let's see who can't keep up with whom. I led us down the marine biology hallway where aquariums doubled as windows. I asked, what's your name? The principal forgot that part in his speech. She found the ceiling more interesting than me. I tried again. We have aquariums. And if fish don't do it for you, we also have goats. She turned. Is there a library here? I couldn't hold back my smile. The library has 2 floors and its own private server. The kind of research access I've only seen at universities. She almost smiled, then stopped herself, asking, what do you even do for the school? I gritted my teeth and answered the question she was actually asking. You mean, why did they accept a poor kid? I test well, better than any other student in the state. New girl raised her chin and responded, until I showed up? I laughed. Yeah, I guess. My dream is to study rare diseases. What about you? She hesitated. I don't care about grades. I want to go back to my home country. I looked at her curiously. Then why are you here? She mumbled. A bride with an American education is worth a lot these days. Suddenly, Vice Principal Harlan turned down the same hall. On instinct, I stopped and quickly hid in the crevice of a classroom entrance. She looked at me strangely before spotting Harlan as he stopped a girl. His voice echoed down the hallway. Your test scores are an embarrassment to this school. The girl had gone still as Harlan went for the kill. Are you really going to let some foreign child beat you? The girl was crying. He wasn't done. I looked down the hallway and saw a classroom door open an inch. A teacher checked on the noise, saw the vice principal, and quickly shut their door. Not their problem, apparently. Suddenly, new girl's hand slammed into the locker beside us. Bam! Harlan glanced our way and regained his composure, fixing his shirt. He waved the girl off and approached me instead. Don't forget about our appointment later. He walked on. New girl looked at me with guilt in her eyes. My name is Rania, but don't use it in public. My family would disown me if they knew I allowed you to speak to me. Rania rushed forward. I reached out and yanked her back without thinking. Her eyes went wide and her hand flew across my face, nails drawing a clean line of blood. In the same instant, the football team's linebacker came barreling down the hallway and stomped through where Rania had been standing. I yelled after him, Javier, watch it! He flowed, grinning. Sorry, see you at the game? You know it. When I looked back, Rania was watching me, holding the arm I'd grabbed, breathing hard. When she caught me looking, she dropped her gaze. I dug into my bag and held out hand sanitizer. Germaphobe? She spun away. I've been taught not to let insignificant beings like you sully me. Don't attempt to help me again. Then she stomped down the hall, looking every bit like the child she was. I watched her go and felt the responsibility of keeping an eye on her, like she was a younger sister who was already better at everything. I shook my head and went to class. One evening, Mara and Vice Principal Harlan came over for dinner. I stood there, holding open the front door with a dumbstruck look on my face, as my aunt came up behind me and said, Harlan here, thought we could have a get-together. Harlan nervously looked out the door. Are you sure your neighbors won't steal my car? I rolled my eyes at his insult, but was distracted as Mara stepped inside. Get your chemistry notes for us to study. We went to the kitchen table as my aunt gave Harlan the tour of our small apartment. Mara asked, did you finish the scholarship application yet? My jaw tightened. Not yet. I need a school board member to sign the form. Mara narrowed her eyes. Has my uncle not done that yet? I shook my head. Harlan told me I need the top grade in the interdisciplinary exam in order for him to sign it. But Rania's taking it too. Mara's expression went cold. Rania is nothing. Stop acting like she's already won. I almost smiled and excused myself to use the bathroom. I stopped walking when I heard voices in the hallway. Harlan whispered, you need to manage her better. The school board is meeting soon, and I'd hate to report a troubled student. My aunt whispered back, she's just curious. If your niece creates further problems for the administration, I will have no choice but to review your position. 9 years is a long time to lose, Renata. I stood with my back flat against the wall. Panic ate at my brain as I worried for my aunt. Aunt Renata's voice trembled but gained strength. No, you need my niece. She's the best scholarship student you've ever had. I felt pride bloom in my chest for a moment before it was smothered by Harlan's laugh. That new foreign girl, she's the future. Smarter and has less complications than your niece. I'd heard enough, raised my chin, and walked toward them. Sorry to interrupt. I found a discrepancy in the artwork of one of my teachers. I was hoping you could take a look. Harlan put on a fake smile. How conscientious. Then he checked his watch. Unfortunately, I don't have time today. Mara, we're leaving. His voice carried through the apartment. I walked him to the door. Mara caught my eye on the way out. I locked the door and leaned against it, exhausted. 3 weeks in, and the school was plastering Rania's face on posters everywhere, like she was a mascot. I was disgusted by how much they were using a child and tore down the poster hung on the cafeteria door. Mara watched me, concern on her face. She scanned the cafeteria as we walked in. She smirked when she found her target and walked over to Rania, who hid behind her hair. Baby bottle for your milk? What a big girl. The cafeteria burst into laughter. Rania poked at her food, not eating a bite. I realized with a gasp she was even skinnier than the day I met her. Was she eating? Then Vice Principal Harlan walked in, stealing all the attention. He announced loudly, "Congratulations to our youngest student, Rania, whose scores earned the school an academic excellence trophy." The cafeteria slowly clapped, confused to cheer for someone they just humiliated. Rania didn't look up from her tray, proving this moment was for Harlan to feed his ego. Mara, meanwhile, stared daggers at her uncle. Harlan caught it and walked over. Putting an arm on Mara, he leaned down to whisper in her ear, "Try to pick the winning side, team." Mara stormed off. Later, I was walking the hallway when a waterfall of color caught the corner of my eye. Hundreds of lollipops fell out of Rania's locker and scattered across the floor. Students crowded to laugh. "Are those for after nap time? Look, it's her report card rewards." Rania calmly shut her locker and walked away, head held high. I followed her through the door of the bathroom and found Rania on the floor against the far wall, knees between her fingers, crying without making a sound. She looked tired. I sat down across from her. "Those things will stunt your growth, you know," she laughed, then fell apart. "I didn't choose this school," she explained. 8 months ago, Vice Principal Harlan came to my home. He told my father the school would pay a monthly stipend if I skipped a few grades and enrolled. All I had to do was take a few tests here and there to improve the school's ratings. My dad thought it was an honor for his daughter to get into a prestigious private school. She curled into herself. I was always meant to be sold off at 18. He just couldn't wait. I slowly reached out and touched her shoulder. She flinched before leaning into my side, and I held her while she cried. When she went quiet, I asked, "Why do you keep missing class?" She looked up at me. "That's when the vice principal has me taking tests. Every exam I take, the school collects a disbursement. I assumed he was doing the same with you." I looked away. She was right. I'd just learned not to say it out loud or risk getting kicked out. She frowned. "I hate not being a regular kid. I'm a revenue source, just like you." I tried to